I'm planning on going back to UFC. If they'll have me, I would like to go back and fucking whoop some of ass there.
Well, who would you want to if it was offered? Justin Gaethje, it sounds like.
I'm not fighting at 55 though, but right now I'm not fighting in there because there's nobody to fight really. It's kind of slow rolling.
Like UFC would.
I don't really have a name in mind right now in UFC. That's why I'm not there right now in West.
But the name, the draw, the excitement that you'd bring to it, I feel like it's really lacking in UFC. Everybody's
That's
rushing, everybody's
I would
wrestling.
be there if there was somebody that I wanted to go fight.
I want to see the rubber match with Conor McGregor.
With time for sure. Yeah, whenever he's back. Me and him for sure got unfinished.
If there's another fight that would sell and it would be huge, it would be that. It would be Diaz 3.
Oh yeah.
That could be, especially if Diaz gets past Poirier.
Yes.
Even if he doesn't. I mean, just that fight alone. I mean, there's the history between those two guys. I mean, that would be.
And it's so appealing stylistically as well. The fight, you know.
Yeah.
Like I'm a grappler at heart. I love grappling, but I also understand that a jiu-jitsu tournament will put people to sleep. You know, even if you're into jiu-jitsu, it's hard to watch a jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yes.
But anybody can see a punch hitting someone in the head and then falling down. That's exciting. And him and Diaz is such a great personality matchup. It's such a great skill clash. If I was to design somebody that's going to bring the best out of a corner, you'd want someone that can hit back and take a big shot and put up at the trash. It's a beautiful fight. I would love to see that rematch.
Yeah, the thing about Diaz when they first fought was that he didn't give a fuck about trash talk. It didn't bother him at all.
Supporters of McGregor would argue that the biggest star often deserves the biggest position on the card because his ability to generate attention is almost unmatched. This is where the debate over Diaz versus McGregor becomes even more complicated. The trilogy may not be a championship fight, but the history between the two fighters could make it far more commercially powerful than many traditional title matchups. Nate Diaz has also become one of the most recognizable personalities in MMA, and his fan base remains incredibly loyal. Even critics who question his record cannot deny the impact he has had on the sport. Ben Askren recently sparked controversy by questioning whether Diaz's reputation as an elite fighter is greater than his actual competitive record. Askren pointed to Diaz's overall record and suggested that his popularity was built as much on his personality, attitude, toughness, and memorable moments as it.
Story that Conor McGregor is being talked to headline the White House party. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. Why are we turning to Conor McGregor? And the answer is also out there because he's the sport's biggest star. That is true. So is that what you need? You've got the open checkbook and you've got the magic wand. Without saying names, do you say, I'm going to put as my main event the sport's biggest star? Is that your answer? Doesn't matter who he's fighting. What if it's a championship match? You have an open checkbook and you have a magic wand and you don't use any names, but you're going to put the championship on. Would you say heavyweight? Would you say women's 135? Would you say wherever Kazmat Chimaev's at? Like, how is it that you would answer that question? And then what if you're really going to go for a big fight? What if you really follow this for a long time? You're going to do what we used to call a super fight, but now we call it title versus title. You're going to take the champion of a weight.
Was on consistent championship success. That opinion immediately creates debate because Diaz's supporters would argue that records do not always tell the full story. Diaz has fought some of the toughest opponents of his generation, competed in legendary battles, won the Ultimate Fighter, submitted elite fighters, and became a massive fan favorite because of his unique personality and willingness to fight anyone. His record may not look like that of a dominant champion, but his cultural impact on MMA is undeniable. This is precisely why a trilogy with McGregor remains so appealing. It is not necessarily about determining who has the better record or who is ranked higher. It is about completing one of the most famous stories in UFC history. Daniel Cormier has also entered the discussion surrounding potential major matchups, particularly when it comes to John Jones and Alex Pereira. Cormier has suggested that while Jones has physically grown...
Last thing, White House card, like you said, you want Conor McGregor.
Yeah, but the whole thing's at WWE. So
Right.
at least that's happening and something to talk about, something to watch. And I'm looking forward to that fight actually.
Now fans want it.
Devontae and Paul should be good. And then what else are you looking forward to? Hurry up.
Nothing.
Hurry up. What else?
If it's not you, McGregor, Ryan, it's nobody.
So it's good.
Now fans want you versus McGregor 3. Do you want that fight?
Yeah.
For sure. White House?
Yeah, what's that fight?
Thrown into a heavyweight, the matchup many fans truly want to see could still involve Pereira at light heavyweight. The idea of Jones returning to 205 pounds would obviously be complicated, but Cormier believes that the possibility cannot simply be dismissed. Meanwhile, John Anik has presented his own vision for what an enormous UFC event could look like, with a heavyweight championship fight potentially serving as the main event and multiple title fights stacked throughout the card. The dream scenario would involve several undisputed champions competing on the same night, creating a card unlike anything fans have ever seen before. Brendan Schaub has also imagined an incredible lineup featuring some of the biggest names in MMA, including Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira, John Jones, and potentially the long-awaited McGregor versus Diaz trilogy. A card featuring that level of star power would undoubtedly attract massive global attention, and even the preliminary fights could feature elite prospects and established contenders.
Conor McGregor has said he's back in the pool. Nate Diaz said he would love to be the opponent. Are you interested in that trilogy?
That fight's a year away. Landscape will change so much by next 4th of July. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows who's going to be on the card? What the main event will be, or who will hold all the titles? Everything could be completely different, so it's not even worth thinking about it right now.
Judo, meanwhile, has identified John Jones versus Tom Aspinall as another potential blockbuster matchup. Cejudo believes that fight would represent something much deeper than a simple championship contest, because it would bring together the greatest fighter of one generation with a heavyweight champion representing the current era. The symbolism of such a matchup could be enormous, particularly if it were placed on a historic event celebrating a major national occasion. Ultimately, the biggest question is what the UFC actually wants from its next major super event. Does the promotion want a fight that represents pure sporting excellence, a championship clash with enormous legacy implications, or a blockbuster rivalry that casual fans around the world immediately recognize? A fight like John Jones versus Alex Pereira could deliver legendary sporting significance, while Tom Aspinall versus another elite heavyweight could establish the future of the division. But if the goal is pure entertainment and global attention, it is difficult to ignore the commercial power of Conor McGregor. And if Nate Diaz is genuinely willing to return to the Octagon, then the possibility of completing the trilogy becomes even more fascinating. The timing, however, remains the biggest obstacle. McGregor needs to prove that he is physically ready and genuinely committed to returning.
If Nate Diaz was to come back. But if he was, and if Conor McGregor does actually make it back, I think that's the fight to make all day long. The one-on-one, there were some of the biggest fights in UFC history. Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor at the White House would be absolutely insane. It probably will have Tom Aspinall versus John Jones in the main event. It probably will have Conor McGregor versus someone, Michael Chandler or Nate Diaz, in the co-main event. So that just kind of sets the tone for how big that card would be. What do you think? Do you think Conor McGregor will actually make it back? Of course, he hasn't fought since 2021, right? It's going to be 5 years since he last fought. I, for one, fair play to the guy. Fair play, man. Respect. He doesn't need to do this. He doesn't need to come back. He's got lots of other avenues and ways to make money, but fighting is something that never leaves you, okay? It's a part of who you are. It's in your DNA. It's part of your soul. And he wants to come back and he wants to get his hands raised in victory. Of course, he wants to come back and be a part of that.
While Diaz would likely need to establish himself again in the welterweight division before a trilogy could become truly meaningful to hardcore MMA fans. Some analysts believe Diaz should first defeat a major opponent and remind everyone that he can still compete at the highest level before facing McGregor again. Others believe that the rivalry is already so massive that the third fight does not need additional build-up. The truth may be somewhere in the middle. A major Diaz victory could increase the sporting credibility of the trilogy, while McGregor's return could instantly turn the matchup into one of the biggest events in combat sports. For now, nothing is guaranteed, and the MMA landscape could look completely different by the time these plans become realistic. But one thing is certain. The possibility of Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor 3 continues to generate incredible interest. And if both men return at the right time, the UFC could have one of the most commercially powerful rivalries in its history waiting to be unleashed. So the question remains, if Nate Diaz makes a serious comeback and Conor McGregor returns to active competition, should the UFC finally make the trilogy happen? Or should both fighters face different opponents first? Would you rather see Diaz versus McGregor 3, John Jones versus Alex Pereira, John Jones versus Tom Aspinall, or another blockbuster matchup? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Because
if we're talking about super fights, if we're talking about something that's really going to get the MMA world excited, then it would be John Jones versus Alex Pereira. Right? Alex Pereira is one of the biggest stars. He came back in style and destroyed Magomed Ankalaev. The man's phenomenal. He's unbelievable. He's a two-weight division champion. What he's achieved in this sport is ridiculous. If he was to face John Jones and if he was to beat him, then I guess he would go on and fight for the third belt, and that'd be it. That'd be set in stone. Alex Pereira would, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt, be the greatest mixed martial artist to ever compete. Simple as that. There's no one that's fought for 3 belts or won 3 belts. Just the thought of that alone is crazy. I mean, it took me about, 26 fights in the UFC to even get 1 title shot. So they're not easy to come by. Anyway, so there's that. Now they're talking about Conor McGregor fighting Michael Chandler. That's going to be the fight that happens. We all know about that. There's nothing new there. And the thing is, if Donald Trump wants it, if the President of the United States wants it, and as Eric says in that video, him and Dana are...
The conversation surrounding a potential Nate Diaz versus Conor McGregor trilogy has once again exploded across the MMA world, with fighters, analysts, and former champions offering completely different opinions about whether this legendary rivalry still deserves another chapter. Nate Diaz has made it clear that if the right opportunity comes along, he would be interested in returning to the UFC, but he does not appear to be chasing just any opponent or accepting a random matchup simply for the sake of competing again. The bigger question is whether there is a fight exciting enough to bring him back, and for many fans, the obvious answer remains Conor McGregor. Diaz has unfinished business with McGregor, and the history between these two men is unlike almost anything else in modern MMA. Their first 2 fights created some of the most memorable moments in UFC history, with Diaz shocking the world in their first meeting before McGregor responded with a closely contested decision victory in the rematch that left the rivalry perfectly balanced and created an enormous demand for a third fight.
That's not the fight I want to see next, okay? If Nate Diaz comes back and gets a big win over someone in the welterweight division, okay? And he does it impressively, and then the McGregor fight happens. That's when I'm interested. But right now, I feel like the hardcore fans are kind of in mutual agreement that it's Masvidal or Gaethje. To us, it's kind of Masvidal or Gaethje, and for Chael Sonnen and Ariel Wani to both say that they think Nate Diaz trilogy should be next, it's strange to me. Very strange to me, because I would love to see either Gaethje or Masvidal. I feel like everyone's in agreement here. We've seen that Donald Cerrone has been beaten by Conor McGregor in his return at UFC 2.
Years later, fans are still asking whether we could finally see Diaz and McGregor settle the score inside the Octagon. The potential return of McGregor has only made those conversations louder, especially with speculation surrounding major future UFC events and the possibility of a massive stadium-style or White House card. Diaz has indicated that he would absolutely be interested if McGregor is available, while several major voices in the sport have also admitted that a trilogy fight could generate enormous attention. The appeal is obvious because this matchup is about much more than rankings or championship belts. It is about personalities, history, rivalry, entertainment, and 2 fighters who have already proven that they can create unforgettable moments whenever they share the same arena. Diaz has always been known for his toughness, durability, pressure, boxing combinations, and fearless attitude, while McGregor built his legacy around precision striking, devastating counterpunching, confidence, and an ability to turn major fights into global events. Their contrasting styles make the matchup incredibly intriguing. And even though both fighters are now at very different stages of their careers, the rivalry itself remains one of the biggest attractions MMA has ever produced. However, not everyone believes that the trilogy should happen immediately.
Worry that Conor McGregor is being talked to headline the White House card. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. Why are we be turning to Conor McGregor? And the answer is also out there because he is the sport's biggest star. That is true. So is that what you need? If you've got the open checkbook and you've got the magic wand, without saying names, do you say, I'm going to put as my main event the sport's biggest star? Is that your answer? Doesn't matter who he's fighting. What if it's a championship match? You have an open checkbook and you have a magic wand and you don't use any names, but you're going to put the championship on. Would you say heavyweight? Would you say women's 135? Would you say wherever Kazmat Chimaev's at? Like, how is it that you would answer that question? And then what if you're really going to go for a big fight? What if you really follow this for a long time? You're going to do what we used to call a super fight, but now we call it title versus title.
Dana White has taken a much more cautious approach, pointing out that the fight could still be more than a year away, and that the MMA landscape can change dramatically in a short period of time. Champions can lose their titles, contenders can emerge, injuries can completely change plans, and fighters can suddenly choose different career paths. Because of that, White has suggested that it may be too early to assume that Diaz versus McGregor 3 is already guaranteed. The situation becomes even more complicated when you consider that McGregor has not competed in the UFC since 2021, while Diaz has moved into the world of boxing and has not yet established a clear path toward another UFC run. Before a trilogy becomes realistic, both men would have to make major decisions about their futures, and there is no guarantee that the timing will ever perfectly align. Michael Bisping, however, sees things differently. The former UFC champion believes that if Nate Diaz genuinely returns to MMA and Conor McGregor also makes his way back into active competition, then the trilogy is one of the biggest fights the UFC.
And it's one of the reasons that I'm struggling with the idea that McGregor is being penciled in the middle of 2025 for a card that sits dead center in the middle of 2026 at a venue yet to be built, for tickets that are yet to be on sale. I struggle with it because we're openly saying if we're going to put Conor on there that there's no title. Unless you believe that Conor McGregor is going to demote himself, right? The biggest draw should be the main event. Your biggest star, regardless of belt, should be the main event. But in this case, if our biggest draw and our biggest star is not a champion or a contender in any weight class, we're going to acknowledge up front that our biggest show will not contain a title, which makes it a little difficult down the road to go, this show's bigger than big. In fact, we got 2 titles up. Yes, you heard me, there's 2 titles. When can you ever get that? And nothing more important than a title
he could possibly make. Bisping has emphasized that McGregor remains one of the biggest stars in combat sports, and that the Irish superstar still has the name recognition and global popularity to headline an enormous event. He also believes that fighters often struggle to completely walk away from competition because the desire to fight can remain deeply connected to their identity. Even when athletes have financial security and countless opportunities outside the sport, the feeling of stepping into the octagon, winning a fight, and hearing the crowd react can be extremely difficult to replace. That could be one of the reasons why the possibility of a McGregor comeback continues to generate so much discussion. At the same time, Bisping also mentioned another potential super fight that could potentially be even bigger from a sporting perspective: Jon Jones versus Alex Pereira. Pereira has already built one of the most remarkable resumes in modern combat sports by becoming a champion in multiple divisions and defeating elite competition. A fight against Jon Jones would represent a collision between 2 legendary champions from different eras and could potentially become one of the most important matchups in MMA history. If Pereira were able to defeat Jones, the implications for his...
No, listen, Nate Diaz, he is the most puzzling. He's not. I don't even think he's that good. I'll go get his record if you want me to. But he has convinced people he is good at fighting somehow, some way.
Pretty good.
I'm gonna go get his damn record, Daniel. It's not.
When he won the Ultimate Fighter, I'm saying he was good for the time that he was fighting.
No, he wasn't. He was average.
He was, yeah, okay. I'm just
okay. I'm gonna go get the record. They're gonna yell at me. I know this. Okay, let's see. His record is 21-13.
Oh my God. Really?
Yes, that's not that great.
Okay, I take it back. I'm taking it back.
Anyway, so yeah, and going into the UFC, he was, I think it was 5-1. So within the UFC, he was 16-12.
That's not good.
That's not very good.
That's not good. There's really no way to twist that into good.
Yeah. So, but you know, his personality. That's another one's like, how did his personality catch on? He says funny things sometimes. He's a little bit different. He's, you know, I don't. Yeah. And listen, if you post this clip, please don't post this clip because the Diaz
legacy would be enormous, especially considering the possibility of chasing championship success across multiple weight classes. Still, the biggest question remains whether the UFC will prioritize sporting legacy or pure star power when building a historic event. That debate becomes especially interesting when discussing Conor McGregor. Chael Sonnen has argued that while McGregor is undeniably one of the biggest stars the sport has ever produced, simply being the biggest name does not automatically mean that he should headline every major event. Sonnen questioned whether a non-title McGregor fight would truly be the best choice for an event that is supposed to be historic. If there are championship fights available, including heavyweight title fights or potential champion versus champion matchups, then the UFC has to consider whether a title fight carries greater significance than a massive celebrity-driven attraction. His argument is that the main event should represent the biggest possible combination of sporting importance, legacy, and entertainment. If McGregor is not a champion or actively competing for a title, some fans may question whether his fight deserves to sit above multiple championship bouts. On the other hand, supporters of McGregor would argue that the biggest star often deserves the biggest position on the card because his ability to generate attention is almost unmatched. This is where the debate over Diaz versus McGregor becomes even more complicated. The trilogy may not be a championship fight, but the history between the two fighters could make it far more commercially powerful than many traditional title matchups. Nate Diaz has also become one of the most recognizable personalities in MMA, and his fan base remains incredibly loyal. Even critics who question his record cannot deny the impact he has had on the sport. Ben Askren recently sparked controversy by questioning whether Diaz's reputation as an elite fighter is greater than his actual competitive record. Askren pointed to Diaz's overall record and suggested that his popularity was built as much on his personality, attitude, toughness, and memorable moments as it was on consistent championship success. That opinion immediately creates debate because Diaz's supporters would argue that records do not always tell the full story. Diaz has fought some of the toughest opponents of his generation, competed in legendary battles, won the Ultimate Fighter, submitted elite fighters, and became a massive fan favorite because of his unique personality and willingness to fight anyone. His record may not look like that of a dominant champion, but his cultural impact on MMA is undeniable. This is precisely why a trilogy with McGregor remains so appealing. It is not necessarily about determining who has the better record or who is ranked higher. It is about completing one of the most famous stories in UFC history. Daniel Cormier has also entered the discussion surrounding potential major matchups, particularly when it comes to Jon Jones and Alex Pereira. Cormier has suggested that while Jones has physically grown into a heavyweight, the matchup many fans truly want to see could still involve Pereira at light heavyweight. The idea of Jones returning to 205 pounds would obviously be complicated, but Cormier believes that the possibility cannot simply be dismissed. Meanwhile, John Anik has presented his own vision for what an enormous UFC event could look like, with a heavyweight championship fight potentially serving as the main event and multiple title fights stacked throughout the card. The dream scenario would involve several undisputed champions competing on the same night, creating a card unlike anything fans have ever seen before. Brendan Schaub has also imagined an incredible lineup featuring some of the biggest names in MMA, including Ilia Topuria, Islam Makhachev, Sean Strickland, Alex Pereira, Jon Jones, and potentially the long-awaited McGregor versus Diaz trilogy. A card featuring that level of star power would undoubtedly attract massive global attention, and even the preliminary fights could